collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Commander-class Constructicons Hook and Long Haul from the Transformers Studio series from Hasbro, of course based on their appearance in the iconic 1986 Transformers the movie, but honestly this is just how they looked all throughout G1. They decided to do these two together in a Commander class instead of releasing them separately because they're going to come with all the extra parts and bits to form Devastator. On the front of the box here, some pretty cool artwork of Hook and Long Haul. In the middle, amidst the Battle of Autobot City as seen in the movie. Up here just kind of has their names. Not really much going on. Really nothing going on down here on the bottom. Over here, get a cool little bit of artwork of the two of them in their vehicle modes. And then over here on this side, we have some cool artwork of Devastator. Spinning it around to the back, we have, I believe, the exact same still they used on the back of Scavenger's packaging. And then we have some product shots of the robot modes and the vehicle modes. And then all the extra bits can kind of form like a second trailer that Long Haul can tow, which is kind of cool. So I'm excited for this one. Ever getting closer to Devastator, just missing Mixmaster at this point. I don't know why he's straggling behind. I think originally him and Scavenger were supposed to come out at the same time. And then I got Scavenger from Amazon super early. So, I don't know. But in any case, let's go ahead. Let's get these guys out of the box here and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here's everything you'll find in the box. Of course, we have Hook and we have Long Haul, but I'm going to take them away for just a moment. And real quick, we'll go through all the other assorted goodies and parts that we have here. So these two pieces come separately, and you are just going to line them up. And then this is going to become Long Haul's gun. So we'll put that off to the side and take a closer look in a moment. And this is going to be Hook's gun, no assembly required. We'll put that off to the side and take a look at that a little bit later. As we know, these three pieces will form the iconic chest shield for Devastator. So you can peg those together. I think it looks pretty good. The Decepticon symbol on the front, really nicely done with the purple and the silver there. I think that's really going to pop. But for the purpose of storage for this, they have it dissected, which is why it comes in three different parts. So we'll take this back apart. You get two fists. And these are very obvious which hand they're for because the thumb doesn't move. So you have a little spot here to hold an accessory. And then the whole hand can open and close as one solid piece like that. So no individually articulated fingers or anything. It also has this port on the side, but you can push that down if you want. So what you're going to do, you can see we also have these other parts, which are going to be for the arms in the combined mode. You can see that there's like a peg inside, a little tab there. These are going to fit over top of Bone Crusher and Scavenger. But for now, what we can do is take the hand, plug it into the center section here, and then rotate this whole thing around to hide the fist and kind of keep that inside. We will do the same thing for the other side. And then we are going to rotate that around and close that up, and we can put all that off to the side. This is the trailer, which is very obviously just going to be the waist and hips and thighs of the combined mode. I think it's better they do it this way now, because if you handled the Combiner Wars Long Haul at all, he had to be such a ridiculously thick boy because he had to have the massive ratchets for the combined mode thighs, and this solves that problem. So we see that they are kind of coming up with ways to, you know, we saw it with Motormaster and Menasor. We're seeing it with Silverbolt and Superion. They're coming up with a way to give you additional pieces so that it doesn't have to affect and compromise the robot modes and vehicle modes of the individual characters. And I think it's probably the best way to go. I mean, we've been seeing like Magic Square and the other third parties do it for years, so there we go. But this is the trailer, so like I said, you can very clearly see this is going to be like the belly, this is going to be like the front skirts, these are going to be the hip ratchets, and then the thighs, and this I think just swings around. This was just to make it look like a trailer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these pieces here, we're going to flip out the little knobs there, little pegs, pop them on here, like so. We're going to come underneath and we're going to store this part by pegging these two long tabs here. You kind of have to pop it a little bit. I mean, you can move this out of the way, but you're going to pop this in here and store that like that and close it up. And then you're going to take these and you are going to, you can see that there is a rectangular tab slot right there and a tab. And if I line this up correctly, nope. No, it has to be, right? I think it goes like this. Yeah, because this little nub should fit in this like little recessed area. So I think it goes like this. So pop that on that one. Pop this on this one. And now you have everything conveniently stored for the trailer mode. And you have a little hitch here. So if we bring long haul back in, you can see that there's a little spot right there. And you don't even really have to separate this all this much. You just kind of pull it apart briefly, very tinily, to pop that in there and then push it back together. And now he can haul that around as a trailer. I mean, you don't have to do this. You can just sit this all off to the side until you're ready to make Devastator. But if you want kind of a reason for him or something, it's nice to have this as like, okay, we put the pieces together to kind of resemble something. So they're not just a bunch of pieces off to the side. And he can actually haul it as a trailer, which I think looks kind of neat. So I thought that was kind of cool. Alright, so now that we have all that other stuff out of the way, let's focus on the two main stars of the show, Hook and Long Haul. Now, the reason I have them starting off in vehicle mode is because that is how they come packaged, so I wanted to show you how to, transform them from how you'd find them in the box. I think the crane looks pretty good. I keep feeling like this piece, like there's a little hinge here, and it's supposed to snap up and stay in place, and sometimes it comes a little loose. You can very much see Hook's head there underneath. The crane piece does come separate in the box. It's very simple to just peg in there. That's all you have to do. And that does have a decent range of motion at that hinge. And then you can actually extend the crane out as well. You might be able to extend it a little bit further than that, but that seems to be as far as I can get mine to go, and I don't really want to break it. You also have a little swing here on the actual hook of the crane, which I think looks pretty cool. You can't really spin this part of it, though, but you can spin this. So you might not be able to spin the whole thing like you used to, but you can, of course, bring this up to clear the little cab section, and then you can swing this around as much as you need to. So the functionality is still there, just not quite in the way you're used to from the original toy. We'll push that back in. But yeah, overall, rolls well, looks good. Where did his gun go? Pretty basic little blaster, but it works well. And it does have a tiny little hole there on the side so that you can peg it in here on the side of the crane. And that works well. I'm not a huge fan of the obvious Devastator head just hanging out here in the center, but I guess there's not really much you can do. You do want to make sure that that's pegged all the way down, though. It still kind of looks like it leans a little bit, but it is what it is. But yeah, overall, he looks pretty good. Taking a look at Long Haul. Little simpler, not much else to do here. He rolls, he's a dump truck. He doesn't really have any functionality. I guess technically if you wanted to pretend that he was dumping out whatever he's carrying, you can kind of lift this up and this can kind of tilt back, but you can see it's going to move the wheels when it does that, so he's going to bottom out. But yeah, he doesn't really have any articulation in the vehicle mode the way that Hook does. He's just a big, blocky dump truck, but he does roll pretty well. And if you want, you can peg his gun here on the side as well. And then, of course, we have to do a group shot with everyone that we have so far. Still missing Mixmaster. Try to say that 5 times fast. But it's pretty cool to see these guys all together. Let me zoom out here a little bit so I can actually fit them all in screen. And some are going to be a little larger than others, but for the most part, I think they scale pretty well together. I think this looks pretty cool. I mean, obviously, I think Long Haul is going to be the biggest, with Hook kind of being the second biggest, and then you can see these guys get a little smaller as we go. But pretty consistent. I think, honestly, for the most part, none of them really look out of place. It makes sense that the arms would be the smallest because they were deluxes, whereas everyone else is a Voyager. I'd have to kind of assume that these guys are supposed to be like Voyagers. I mean, I know they're in the Commander class price point, but of course you're also getting this big trailer chunk. So maybe they're like Voyager Plus, we'll say. Maybe they have a little bit more paint and a little bit more engineering, but essentially they're Voyagers. So getting into their transformations, we're going to start here with hook. Honestly, not too super intricate, if I'm being honest. We're going to go ahead and start by removing the gun if you have that attached. The directions say to kind of lift up the crane a little bit and to pull this out ever so slightly so that when you kind of bring the hook in, it kind of rests like right there. I don't think it really matters. They're just kind of setting up, I guess, the length to give you an idea, so it kind of acts like a third leg for stability. But yeah, anyway, then we're going to come around to the back here. We're going to lift up these two panels. We're going to grab a hold of this whole section right here, and this is going to lift off, as you can see. So it was attached to these two pegs, and you can see that there's a double jointed hinge in there. You're going to bring this, and you can kind of, I'm just going to take this off, you know, let's make it simple for now. This is going to come all the way up and peg into this section here. So this is going to come up, and you can kind of see that there's like little indents, and that's going to peg in. And it's very obvious when it kind of snaps in like that. So then we're going to come back here. We're going to lift the arms straight out. And they don't even have them tuck in the hands. It's kind of funny, like the hands can tuck in, which I would think that they would want to do for vehicle mode, but it actually relies on that little bit of the hand sticking out to fill the gap in vehicle mode, and also it won't really close properly if you have the hands tucked in. So I'm assuming that's something for Devastator mode. But we can just kind of bring these down and then kind of, you know, engage the elbow just to make them look a little less stiff. And then you can push these back down like so. Pretty much almost done at this point. We are going to, now this part's a little weird, I'll be honest. I like to kind of flip these down and then kind of flip out the feet like this. And then just kind of leave them kind of hovering here. Because what's going to happen is this whole back section is going to pop back, and you'd think it just flips around. It doesn't. It's going to kind of accordion down, and it's kind of weird to get a hold of this. I also sometimes like to just split them apart now because it makes it a little easier. But this is going to rock back. So you can see on the inside here, there's another piece. See that gray piece there? There's a hinge there and a hinge there. So that was accordioned up like this. Now it's going to accordion down like this, and then once you do that, this will come in and kind of clip around it to make the legs. So this is going to accordion down like so, and then this clips in, and then that's it. You're pretty much done. I'm going to zoom back out here, reattach the crane piece on the back, and like I said, that just kind of becomes like a third heel. And that's pretty much it. Let me adjust this. But that is Hook in robot mode. We'll pop the gun in. Pretty simple, but I think he looks pretty good. I really like the head sculpt, of course. Really nice red paint there for the visor and silver paint for the face. Has the giant blocky head that we're all used to. That's on the ball joint. You can look ever so slightly up and ever so slightly down. Maybe tilt side to side, but certainly you can look side to side. No problem there. You have a nice Decepticon symbol there on the torso. So you do have, you can lift these up, and the directions show you that if you wanted to like bring this up and then kind of let that be at a little bit of an angle. But you can move it out of the way so that you can get the full range of motion here for the arm out to the side with that hinge. Spin, of course you are going to hit into the back assembly here, so that's going to limit articulation slightly. But then you have a very obvious mushroom peg there for the bicep swivel double jointed elbows, which I'm assuming is for Devastator mode, but we'll have to wait and see. Nothing in the wrist because it folds into the forearm. I don't think, is there a waist swivel? I don't think so, because you can see the Devastator head hiding in there, so obviously I don't think he's getting any kind of a waist swivel, but he can kick pretty far forward and actually decently far back, even though all that stuff's hanging back there, and really decently out to the side, so nice movement there in the hip. Got your thigh swivel. Pretty much 90 degrees in the knee, maybe slightly less than 90. Pretty good ankle tilt as well, and you can move these a little front to back because of the transformation. But yeah, overall, I think he looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with him. And like I said, he's definitely not going to fall over because he's got that crane arm in the back acting as a third heel. But yeah, not bad. All right, next up we have long haul. Once again, I'm going to remove the gun. I'm going to unhook these leg sections here and just kind of flip them back to about there. At this point, we're going to kind of wiggle free this arm part that's kind of loosely pegged into the side here on this purple tab. And then you can see that this is going to come around and that is going to snap into place. And then the hand's going to come down and you are going to fold out the fist. You're going to bring this up and then bring it down to about there. So repeating that step over here on this side, unpeg that, swivel it around, click it into place, bring down the arm, flip out the hand, arm up, and then down to about there. We're going to lift this and this out of the way. We are going to open up this section and grab a hold of the head to about there. Then we're going to bring this down. Now you can see that when this part pops up here, it's going to occupy the space where the head was, which is why we need to get it out of there. And also when you're transforming it back into vehicle mode, you have to make sure that you rotate this section back before you try to push the head in, because otherwise there's nowhere for it to go. So then we're going to close this back up like so, bring the legs around, they will snap into place there, and then separate them. And then the last step, let me zoom out here, we're going to just fold this down, and then we're going to just fold this up. And that's just going to compress against the back. And that is pretty much it. There's your long haul. We're going to bend him so it's snapped in here at the top of the leg. We're going to bend it here in the middle to give him knees. And sometimes that can feel really nerve-wracking, like you're going to snap something, but you're not. I don't think you are anyway. And then that gives him knees. And we'll engage his ankle tilt so we can stand him up. He's definitely a chunky boy. I think he's loads better than the one from Combiner Wars, because that guy's thighs were probably still wider than this whole robot mode. But yeah, he's still a pretty chunky boy. But I think he looks good. We'll give him his gun back here. I love the head sculpt. It's simple, but it works. Red visor, faceplate, looks good. It's kind of on a ball joint, so you can kind of move up and down a little bit, and you should be able to get a little bit of side to side, but not a ton. Really nice Decepticon symbol there on the front. You have a swivel and a hinge there for the shoulder. You have a ball joint here, so that kind of acts as your bicep swivel and elbow joint all in one. Nothing in the wrist because of how it folds into the forearm. I don't think this guy has any kind of waist movement. Again, because he has to kind of snap into place, but he can kick pretty far forward and decently far back. If we move the arm out of the way, he can also kick pretty far out to the side, so great range of motion at the hips. Again, we have the knee, probably only going to get to about there, so not quite 90. But I do like how they have this extra plastic in here so that it looks like the joint is solid and it's not like an empty space, so I do appreciate that. And then ankle tilt. Pretty far into ankle tilt. They do a little bit of that there as well, but I obviously can't go the full range, but they do a little bit of it there as well. So yeah, I feel like he's got the posability you'd want. The gun is pretty simplistic, but it works. I like that. Yeah, overall, he is a big chunky boy, but I feel like the proportions work. I mean, he has some really nice paint here on the like upper knees, I guess we'll call it. The cab section's painted, the headlights there, all this interior of the like grill is all painted. So, yeah, I think he works. I mean, to me, he should be a little bit stockier because that's kind of his character. And of course, he has to kind of be the tummy section of Devastator. But yeah, I really like the proportions on this. I think it works for this character specifically. And of course, got to get a robot mode group shot of everyone we have so far. Desperately need Mixmaster as quickly as they can get it to us. But yeah, I feel like these three guys, the first three here, all really scale pretty well. And honestly, Hook, I feel like fits in pretty well with them. He's a smidge taller, but not too much. And then you just have the utter bulk that is long haul back here. Looking a little out of place, but if you needed like a ringer, you know, every group's kind of got that larger character. Like the Fantastic Four has the Thing, Avengers has the Hulk. This is their Hulk. You know, we got long haul in the back, ready to mess someone up if it comes to it. He's kind of their bruiser, but overall, I feel like they scale pretty well together here. I think this is a really fun set. I think Hook and Long Haul really turned out great. I think the robot modes are good. The vehicle modes are good. Transformations, not super intricate, but, you know, enough that they feel satisfying. And still, I kind of like when they're a little bit easy to transform back and forth. I don't need everything to be, you know, Magic Square or Masterpiece level quality when it comes to transformations. Sometimes it's fun to just have something you can pick up and fiddle with back and forth. I think I understand why this had to be like a Commander Class 2-pack. I mean, you have long haul here, definitely larger than your typical deluxe. Even I think maybe larger than a Voyager, honestly, if we're thinking about how big and chunky he is. Plus, with these guys kind of forming the torso and tummy of Devastator, they need to make sure that they're solid. They need to make sure that they have all the pieces they need. They need to make sure all the engineering's there, because there's going to be a lot going on. And one thing else I didn't mention, they give you a set of instructions just for these two, and then they give you a set of instructions that's solely for Devastator. So I really appreciate that. It tells you how to transform the extra bits, these two, the other four that are sold separately. It tells you how to do everything you need to do for Devastator, so I thought that was a really nice touch. But yeah, this is a great set. I really like these guys quite a bit. I definitely think, from what I remember, again, it's been a while, but I definitely think these are improvements over the Combiner Wars 1. I can say with 100% certainty that this long haul is definitely an improvement. That guy suffered so much by having to do all the heavy lifting for the combined mode back in the Combiner War days. So this guy is definitely better. Hook, I don't remember as much, probably fairly comparable, but I just think, you know, the color schemes are here, the scale is there, the paint applications are nice, articulation's probably a little bit better than back in the day. And once we get Mixmaster, I'm very interested to see this cohesive Devastator, and I'm excited to try it out. So again, I think it's a fun set. I found, I got mine from BBTS. I believe it's, people have been finding it at Target. I think it's up on Target's website as well. Hasbro, I had originally ordered it there, but then they said it was going to be like September, October. So I canceled it there and bought it at BBTS. I don't know why Hasbro's the last to get their own products, but they usually seem to be. Very strange. But yeah, these guys should not be too hard to find if you're looking for them. I think Amazon, BBTS, Target. I don't know if Walmart's going to carry them or not. Probably not. But again, shouldn't be too hard to track down. Definitely think they're worth checking out, especially if you're collecting all the Constructicons for Devastator. You are, of course, going to need this 2-pack. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.